Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Chaotic Entertainment. I'm your host, Dan, and I have some questions for you. Are you tired of AAA games like Minesweeper choking up your graphics card and castrating your processor? Do you crave the freedom to keep handfuls of sewage in your front pocket? Have you ever wanted an old man to shove his meat into your mouth while screaming about his son? Shadows Over Loathing is a turn-based RPG by Asymmetric Games. In it, you play as a kleptomaniac who goes into an existential crisis every time he sees a mirror. The world around you is a two-dimensional hellscape, where California and Florida are only a 10-minute bus ride away from each other and you. The game is a combination of combat, puzzle solving, and mashing your keyboard to skip random encounters. The art style is simplistic, and the environments borrow a lot from the Lovecraftian era that the game is named after. Much like the works of Lovecraft, there are eldritch horrors, degenerate acts of science, and the skepticism of all reality itself. Unlike Lovecraft, I can say the name of this game's cats without getting demonetized. Let's start with the thing that's most noticeable about this game, the visuals. This game's graphics are so intense and top of the line that the HDR setting is disabled by default to prevent your CPU from hitting 6,000 degrees Kelvin. Speaking of settings, there's an arachnophilia setting. I don't know what that does, and I'm not about to find out. And just in case you were wondering if there's a way to turn this game into full color, no, there isn't. I tried asking someone, but the answer I got was a little unhinged.
And I had to kill a man for his tattoo gun so I could drink the ink.
Calling these graphics simple would be a lot like saying Helen Keller had a difficult childhood. And honestly, I'm okay with that. In a world where every AAA studio is tripping over itself to imitate the movie industry and everything wrong with it, I'll take a game that has a vision and sticks with it. And despite how bare bones the visuals are, every environment manages to feel unique and never leaves you asking, what the hell am I looking at? In addition to the greatest graphics ever, this game also has a pretty solid storyline. Each of the side quests has a decent plot, and no discussion ever feels like it's staying past its welcome. The humor in this game is pretty on point, and if you liked West of Loathing, you're gonna like this game too. As for the main story, the plot goes something like this. You're some guy from out of town on a mission to find your uncle. You track down and cleanse cursed junk in hope of finding him, committing countless felonies along the way. On your journey, you discover that there's a world beyond ours, and it's filled with fishmen and hentai monsters. The story isn't deep, but its presentation is pretty fucking great. I don't really care about finding Uncle Murray. I need to know what happens when I give this mouse more cheese. Will it help me rescue him? I don't know.
But I don't care!
Family comes first until a group of kids ask me to prove the fly is real. And when I discover that he's not, I make him real. The main questline falls into the background pretty quick in Shadows Over Loathing. Much like any game with a healthy variety of side quests, the plot quests are there for when you finally run out of shit to do. This isn't to say the main quest line is bad, it isn't. I just have a hard time focusing on it when I could be spending that time building a kingdom of homeless people. And the humor in this game comes from genuinely funny jokes, not constant references and callbacks to memes that were dead before half of you learned how to read. The visual gags are solid, and the prologue does a great job setting expectations straight out the gate. Also, there's a great soundtrack to listen to while you exterminate entire populations so you can make clothing out of them. Now that we've covered the general themes of this game, what about the gameplay?
What are you doing? Stop! No! Oh god! Fuck!
Shadows Over Loathing has a turn-based combat system. Not only do you manage your character's moves and items, but you also have a companion and a familiar to support your random acts of senseless violence. I had a hard time picking between Buffy the Turtle, Vito the Mosquito, and Cum. No, I don't know why I named him that. Probably for the same reason I named the snake Trouser, because I'm a fucking 5-year-old.
You know what I really hate? Children, kids, the devil's spawn!
And those items I mentioned earlier aren't things like health potions or antidotes. No, we're out here killing eldritch horrors with goddamn soda cans and the inhalers you stole from your friend when you were a kid. If you've ever wanted to grope someone to death with a tentacle that you grew out of the ground, this is just the game for you. You have several types of enemies to farm resources and experience from. Enemies such as Floridians, God's Mistakes, and your favorite sleep paralysis demon. My favorite thing about this game's combat is that it lets you stat grind all you want, but it never feels like something you have to do. But combat isn't this game's major focus. In fact, you can beat Shadows Over Loathing without killing almost anyone. When you're not enacting violence against gangs of glockenspiel-playing goblins, you'll be solving puzzles and completing quests. I don't have time to cover all of them, so I'm just going to talk about a few of my favorites. In the Big Moist, there's a group of meat miners who have swapped bodies with a horde of frogs after disturbing an ancient idol. You can free the humans from their punishment by restoring the idol, thus freeing them from any responsibility for their actions. Or you can let the frogs keep their bodies and let them discover the joys of having external testicles. I won't tell you what the right choice is, but I will say this. God and Moses said that frogs were a plague in the Old Testament, and I don't think they'd lie about a thing like that. Another quest has you enroll in the local university just so you can use their library to steal a cursed book from it. When you finish your classes, you find the book in the basement being used in a creepy ritual. Do you unbind the ritual or dispel it through eldritch words or acts of reason and compassion with the person casting it? No! You commit an act of elder abuse and send that bastard where he belongs. Space hell. Is that elder abuse? I don't know. Probably. But don't let it make you feel like a bad person. The state doesn't care about these people, so neither should we. Overall, this game is pretty fun. My only major issue is the amount of backtracking and some of the puzzles. Most of the puzzles are fine. Most of them are great. But when they're bad, they decide to go above and beyond. There's a quest in a jail to break into the warden's office. There's no combat in this quest. There's no puzzle in this quest. You just go room to room, walking back and forth in this hallway for 10 minutes, mashing through dialogue to get through the door. I don't know if there's a workaround for this quest, and at this point, I don't care. It's genuinely one of the more unpleasant moments in this game. There's also a boat with a find the code puzzle that's literally just trial and error. And the last quest to uncurse an item has to be one of the most unpleasant moments this game has to offer. Words cannot describe how absolutely obnoxious this quest is. You have to die over and over to jump between random environments until eventually you get to the right one. It took me 19 minutes of just mashing my spacebar until the game decided that I was allowed to go to the right place. Then I was allowed to finish the puzzle. Asymmetric, listen, I love you guys. I really do, but this is awful. And there are a few of these quests that you'll have to deal with. They're almost always optional, but if you want to see everything this game has to offer, you're going to be wading through a lot of shit for what is often an unsatisfying return. I don't know what jamming your foreskin into a hand crank pencil sharpener is like, but I bet it's a lot like this. And don't get me wrong, this doesn't make the game bad. The game is still great. It's just that it feels like this could have been so much better. There's room for improvement here. This was also a problem back in West of Loathing, but I swear it didn't feel as annoying. But even with all of that, I'd still say this game is worth getting. I'm working on my second playthrough now, and I'd easily spend $23 on this game again. Buy this game. Murder an entire gang for a box of royalty-free Twinkies, and lick a car battery because it's got that good tingle. Shadows Over Loathing gets a positive review from me, and I'd highly recommend it. Thank you all so much for watching. A huge shout out to my patrons. You guys really do make all this possible. More content on the way, and I hope to see you all soon in the next video. Thank you all again. I'll see you all next time.